Kanan just found out he might share blood with the one man he trusts the most. And that single revelation is about to tear the entire Thomas family apart from the inside. What happens next in Queens is going to leave every single fan speechless. The final season of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, has officially crossed into its most dangerous chapter yet. And after the gut punch of Episode 5, nobody in this story is walking away clean. Titled School of War, Episode 5 put Raq and Marvin in an impossible position, while Kanan and Breeze's partnership grew tighter than ever, and Jukebox quietly started building a plan of her own that could change everything. This episode picked up right where things left off after Kanan made his boldest move yet against his own mother, getting close to a young girl named Jerita and manipulating her into swapping out a client's drug delivery with a lethal batch. That decision did not just hurt Raq's operation. It ended up killing a federal judge, and in this world, that is the kind of mistake that brings heat nobody can outrun. Raq knew she could not let that slide, but she also knew Kanan was not finished coming for her either. And that kind of tension between a mother and son is honestly one of the most heartbreaking parts of this entire series. At the same time, Raq had another enemy circling her, and his name is Stefano. Desperate to remove him as a threat once and for all, Raq and Marvin made the call to bring in a hit through a crew from Memphis, believing they had found the perfect way to end this quietly and permanently. But it did not go according to plan. One of the three contract killers flipped sides at the worst possible moment, and instead of Stefano ending up dead, he walked away completely alive and now fully aware that Raq tried to have him killed. Think about how dangerous that is. Stefano is not the kind of man who forgives that kind of betrayal, and now Raq has turned a dangerous rival into an enemy who has every reason in the world to come back at her twice as hard. This is exactly the kind of mistake that gets people buried in this show, and it feels like Raq just planted the seed of her own downfall without even realizing it yet. But if there is one moment from Episode 5 that completely shook the fanbase, it is the bombshell Breeze dropped on Kanan in the closing minutes. Breeze looked Kanan dead in the eyes and told him they are blood brothers, both sons of the same man, Defcon. Let that sink in for a second. This is not just some random plot twist thrown in for shock value. If this claim turns out to be true, it changes the entire foundation of Kanan's identity and rewires his relationship with Breeze from a simple business partnership into something far deeper and far more dangerous. Kanan has spent this entire season searching for people he can actually trust, and now the one person he has leaned on the most might be tied to him by blood. The question everyone is asking right now is whether Breeze is telling the truth, or whether this is a calculated move designed to pull Kanan even further under his influence. Because if there is one thing we have learned about Breeze this season, it is that he never does anything without a reason, and loyalty in these streets rarely comes without a price attached. Heading into Episode 6, Raq is stuck playing a game where she cannot afford a single wrong move. She knows Kanan is not done with her. She knows Stefano is furious and fully aware of her betrayal, and now she has to figure out how to survive two enemies closing in from opposite directions at the exact same time. The official preview for the next episode has already confirmed that Stefano and Kanan may end up working together against her. And if that alliance actually forms, it could be the single most dangerous threat Raq has faced this entire season. A son who wants revenge and a rival who wants payback, both aiming at the same woman at the same time. That is not a coincidence. The show is setting up for nothing. That is a collision course that has been building since the very first episode of this final season, and it is about to reach a breaking point that nobody is fully ready for. According to the official description released for Episode 6, the war between Raq and the men closing in on her is about to get significantly more violent, and that alone should tell you this is not going to be a quiet episode. Every relationship that has been building tension all season is finally being pushed toward its breaking point, and nothing about it looks like it is heading in a peaceful direction. Raq now has to deal with Kanan, Breeze, and Stefano all at once, and the show has made it clear that this fight is escalating fast. She has spent years being the one person on these streets who could not be touched, the one who always found a way to come out on top no matter how bad things got. But this time feels different. This time she is not just facing one enemy who underestimates her. She is facing a son who knows every one of her weaknesses because he learned them from her directly, and a rival who now has every reason to make sure she never gets the chance to strike first again. When the people hunting you know exactly how you think, there is nowhere left to hide. Then there is Tiana, and honestly, her storyline might end up being one of the most painful parts of this next chapter. The official synopsis confirms that Kanan's deception toward her is only going to get worse, and that his relationship with her takes a real turn in this episode. If you have been paying attention to how Kanan has treated Tiana throughout this season, you already know she has given him more loyalty and more genuine feeling than he has ever given back. She sees something in him that most people in his life stopped looking for a long time ago, and that kind of blind devotion in this world usually does not end well. Kanan is fully aware of how much she cares, and there is a real chance he ends up using that devotion for his own survival, whether that means asking her to do something dangerous on his behalf or simply continuing to lie to her while she keeps choosing to believe him anyway. Watching someone get manipulated by a person they genuinely love is one of the hardest things to sit through. And this show has never shied away from letting that kind of heartbreak play out in full. On top of all of that, Jukebox is walking into serious danger of her own. The synopsis makes it clear that a misstep from her leaves her under threat, and knowing how deep she has already gotten into trying to uncover the truth about who killed Famous, that misstep could come from almost any direction. Jukebox has spent this entire season trying to protect the people she loves while also chasing answers that keep leading her into more dangerous territory, and now it looks like that search is about to catch up with her in a way she cannot control. Meanwhile, Detective Garcia is described as making a bold move to help her finally get those answers, which raises the question of just how far Garcia is willing to go, and what kind of risk that puts both of them in. If Garcia crosses a line here, that decision could end up putting Jukebox in even more danger rather than less, especially with Marvin already spiraling after everything he learned about Kanan and Lulu. Every single character in this story is one wrong move away from losing everything, and episode 6 is shaping up to be the moment where several of those wrong moves finally happen at once. What makes this even more intense is something the showrunner himself has confirmed. Sasha Penn has made it clear that this final season is going to answer every single lingering question tied to this story, including a definitive explanation for how Kanan is eventually able to kill Jukebox, an event fans of the original series already know is coming. That means nothing happening right now is filler. Every scene, every betrayal, every quiet conversation between Kanan and the people around him is building directly toward that inevitable outcome, and knowing that makes every interaction between Kanan and Jukebox in these coming episodes hit completely different. You are not just watching two characters navigate a dangerous situation anymore. You are watching the earliest steps of a tragedy that fans have known was coming since the very first episode of Raising Kanan ever aired. And that kind of dramatic irony is exactly what makes this final stretch so hard to look away from. If you step back and look at where this show started, it makes everything happening right now hit so much harder. Kanan was once just a kid trying to figure out his place in a world his mother controlled completely. Someone who wanted respect and independence, but had no idea how much it would cost him to get it. Now look at him. He is a man capable of orchestrating the death of a federal judge without blinking, someone who has turned his back on the very family that raised him, and someone who may have just discovered a blood connection to the one person he has chosen to trust over everyone else. That transformation did not happen overnight, and that is exactly why it feels so devastating to watch. Every choice, every betrayal, every moment of pain Kanan has caused or endured has led directly to this point, and there is no turning back from here. The version of Kanan we met in the very first episode is completely gone, and what is left is someone the streets of Queens created out of necessity, out of survival, and out of a desperate need to never feel powerless again. And that is what makes Raq's position so tragic in all of this. She spent years trying to shape Kanan into someone strong enough to survive this life. And now that same strength is what makes him dangerous enough to destroy her. There is a devastating kind of irony in that. The lessons she taught him to protect him have become the exact tools he might use to end her. Whether or not you believe Raq deserves what is coming, it is impossible not to feel the weight of a mother watching her son become the very thing that could take her down. That relationship has always been the emotional core of this entire series. And as we get closer to the end, every scene between them feels heavier. Every conversation feels like it could be their last real moment of honesty before everything falls apart completely. At the same time, Breeze remains the biggest wild card heading into these final episodes. If his claim about being Kanan's blood brother is true, it changes everything we thought we understood about loyalty in this story. But if it turns out to be a manipulation, a calculated lie designed to pull Kanan even deeper under his control, then Kanan is walking straight into a trap set by someone who has clearly been playing a longer game than anyone realized. Either way, Kanan is now more isolated than he has ever been. He has turned away from his mother, he continues to deceive the one person who genuinely loves him, and he is placing his full trust in a man whose true intentions remain completely unknown. That kind of isolation rarely ends well in this world, and it feels like the show is deliberately stripping away every safety net Kanan has left, piece by piece, episode by episode, until he has absolutely nowhere left to turn. With only a handful of episodes remaining before this story reaches its end for good, every single moment from here on out carries real weight. This is not a show that wastes time anymore. Every betrayal matters, every alliance could collapse at any second, and every character we have watched grow across 5 seasons is now standing right at the edge of their own personal breaking point. Raq, Kanan, Breeze, Stefano, Tiana, Jukebox, Marvin, every single one of them is walking toward a moment they may not survive. And knowing that this is the final stretch makes every scene feel more urgent and more emotional than anything that came before it. This is the kind of ending that fans have been waiting years to see, and based on everything building right now, it is shaping up to be one that leaves absolutely nothing held back.